Hello, 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 ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for hitting that play button for another episode of the Heady podcast, where I sit down, you know it, with fabulous people because they're fabulous. I've changed my missions, ladies and gentlemen. I've changed my mission. My mission is now to encourage 1 million teachers weekly. So I'm having conversations with teachers and those who impact education. And today, I think this is the first episode since I've changed the Heady podcast that I've had the conversation with someone. And of course, none other than Mr. Wayland Cubit ends up being the person. It wasn't planned, but now that I'm just thinking about this, and Wayland has been on the podcast before. He is now, what is your exact title, Wayland? What is?
It is, my exact title is husband, father,
That's good.
grandfather, yes, uncle, yes, neighbor, and friend.
Yes. Now, I know husband's your favorite.
Oh yeah.
But grandfather, I hear,
is right up there.
I hear it's almost better than children.
It's better than children. It's better than children.
So the rumor is true.
It's better than children.
Oh my goodness!
My children know that. Well, they heard about it. They don't know it yet, but they'll find out. One day.
Yeah, one day when they'll
find out one day.
They'd be like, "Oh, now I know what Dad meant by saying that." Yeah, no, that's good. That's good. But in all of that, because you've been great at doing all those things, it has now transitioned you over into working with education after retirement.
You were asking what I do.
Yes, what you do, not
who I am.
Not who you are.
All right.
That's
so
good.
Director of Security for Oklahoma City Public Schools. Yeah.
Director of Security. And how long have you been doing that?
Almost exactly a year.
Okay.
Exactly a year. So I'm a newbie.
Because you came, you got hired in the summer.
I got hired in July.
Okay.
After retiring from the police department after 26 years. I took a month off and started with the school just about with the last school year.
Now, I remember when you were kind of wrestling with what was next for you.
Yeah.
After kind of doing that for so long, 26 years. And then you land into this role.
Yep.
Talk to me just a little bit about what was your first year like? What were you doing? Kind of getting settled in that role, and what did you learn out of that?
Well, it was a big learning curve, a huge learning curve. 5,000 employees in the school district.
Oh my goodness!
There's 62 schools. There's about 35,000 students.
Okay.
And a security department. So we have. So I have to learn the school system. I came from public safety. Now I'm going into education. So if you can imagine how a teacher and principals think versus how police chiefs and officers think, and put that into one setting.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So just talking about the first year.
Yeah, that first year was just kind of dealing with just the weight of the responsibility. All of those people and all of those kids and the different dynamics between the education field and the public safety field. And so, man, I was just thinking through a big old fire hose.
Yeah.
But I had a great team that was already assembled in there. A lot of support from the superintendent and the assistant superintendent and the Board of Education. Didn't try to go in and make major changes, but we were just coming off Uvalde when I got the job. So it was a lot of anxiety around active shooter and just keeping our kids safe and making sure that there would be no intruders and stuff. So I spent a lot of time just learning a lot about physical safety and physical security of buildings and stuff where in my previous life as a police officer, we do deal with physical security, but we're mostly responding to breaches of physical security. So now I don't want breaches. So just looking at it from that new point of view.
Because you said 5,000 employees.
Plus.
5,000 plus.
Yeah.
And then how many students are we talking?
35,000 students.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a pretty amazing thing. What was something whenever you came into this, though, that you now know about education that you didn't before? Like, was there anything new about, like, man, great insight regarding schools and education and
I wouldn't say there was anything new, but my understanding of, and you'll love this, or you're because you focus your ideas in this content just on teachers. Mm-hmm. I knew teachers cared because I had caring teachers.
Yeah.
Right. I also knew that in my education, I've had some bad teachers.
Yeah.
But the amount of care that the good teachers overcompensate for those bad teachers. These teachers really care about their kids, and the conversations I have with them reveals what they will do to help kids flourish and thrive. My mind is blown.
Yeah.
My mind is blown. Now there's some bad teachers, but they're just a blip on the radar compared to the
ones who really,
oh man, they go over.
Yeah. I was this morning, we're putting together these handwritten notes, putting gift cards in those notes. And we're taking these baskets to teachers that these particular teachers and educators or staff go to our church, specifically for our church, right? And the lady who's organizing this is a teacher herself, and she sent me this long ping talking about and trying to really reiterate, I don't think people understand how much teachers give out of their own pocket to be able to do the work that they do, on top of not, depending on who you talk to, not making enough, right? Like they're not getting paid based on the investment they're giving to the right amount.
Yes.
And so to be able to say, I'm going to make sure the kids have backpacks, I'm going to make sure they go home and they're fed, all these things, even though really that's on the parents, these teachers become parents and teachers, community leaders, all these things. And I just don't think people really get it.
That somebody should just really, if you get a chance, I know I visited schools when my kids were when I was parenting my kids. But I was really going to check on my kid.
Yes.
Right. Yeah. And so I was kind of laser focused on what was happening that impacted my kid. Now I go in and I just want to talk to the principal, and I want to talk about this issue or this lock or that lock or this camera or that camera, or, that fight that happened or this potential threat. I need that stuff. And to walk with a principal down the hall to watch how they, one, care for every single kid.
Yeah.
2, care for every single teacher. They care for them. 3, they're looking out for the paraprofessionals in the building. They can't have one solid conversation with me because they're managing and juggling 15 as we go down the hall.
Yeah.
And they're all about caring for the kid to make sure kids get what they need. Mm. And I'm like, man, the way their mannerisms are and the way they look reminds me of police officers when they drive down the street. You see their heads on the swivel, and they're watching and they're looking for problems and potential problems, and they're looking for things that need to be corrected. And at the same time, they're enjoying their radio or they're on the phone with their wife and all that kind of stuff. But they're never not paying attention to what's going on around them because they care about their district. Yeah. And principals care about their school so much that they're just in tune to every single thing that's happening. Yeah. Right. It is really, really refreshing to know that they're just not coming into the school and just trying to check the boxes. They're trying to make sure that every kid is cared for and that every teacher has everything they need to care for the kid. Yeah. Yeah.
And that care is not, again, it's not just about, we want to make sure that they're good within the confinements of the school, which, yes, and thank you so much. But they're also want to make sure that they're cared for when they leave the school.
Oh, listen. We had a gas problem at one school, and we had to evacuate the school. And when I get there, all these kids are out of the building. and they're being ushered into a community center nearby. They're just going into a community center. And the community center was closed.
Yeah.
Wasn't open. Didn't open until way later. And so we were managing this, and every kid is taken care. It's all perfect. And then I asked the principal, like, okay, I know who operates the center, and that's the manager of the center, and they're coming in right now. How did you get in here? And the manager just now coming. Oh, well, I have a relationship with them for just this kind of deal. I know them, and so I called them, and they opened up. They came out and opened up just for us, right? And now we'll do the policy stuff and do all the things we have to do later. But because of my relationship with the people, my neighbors, we were prepared for this long before it happened.
Yeah.
Right. We already knew we were going to use our parking lot, but we didn't know because of the weather we were going to need to be inside the building. We planned that this was a safe place to go, but we didn't plan on this weather, so we needed inside, and it was our relationship outside of the building that made that possible. So they were prepared. The principle was that. Now our plans identified that as a place, but the relationship was already solidified with the principal.
Yeah, that's so good. You know, talking about you as a parent, can we go there?
Yeah.
So you as a parent with kids coming through the school system, you're saying, hey, I'm going to meet with teachers, but it's really about my kid in this sense. One of the big challenges that schools have, teachers, right, is the parental involvement.
Yeah.
As a parent, going in and supporting your kids, did you ever think about what that meant to teachers, or were you just like, I just know what it means for my students?
I never thought about it. I never thought about what it meant for the teacher. I just thought that's what parents did.
Yeah.
Now we know differently that
well, that's what parents should do, right?
That's what they should do.
It carries over into supporting it. It's kind of like that. Help me help you.
Right. Yep. Yeah.
Kind of thing for teachers.
It blends. You know, I knew that my parents would be walking down the hall at any moment of time, and I know what that felt like as a kid. It felt two things. It felt scary, but it also felt supportive. Right. Yeah. I knew they'd be there as I was in trouble, but I also knew they was coming to support my recital. It was going to be on the front or third row. Yeah, you know, my grandma and them was going to. So it felt good to look out the audience and see them.
Yeah.
And I want my kids to feel good to see me.
Yeah.
But I also want them to know that I got that teacher's back.
Yes. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so I just did it automatically. Now, you go through your professional life, you understand that for a variety of different reasons, some parents are not able to show up.
Yeah.
Some are just not capable. Some don't know, and some just won't.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, our teachers know it, and they stand in the gap. Mm-hmm. They stand in the gap. They call names. They sit in the front row. I know I had a nephew of mine that played at Midwest City. He played football at Midwest City, and me and my wife went to every football game, and we showed up for his senior year for that last senior game, and there was two ladies in the front row with a jersey with his number on it, and we hadn't met them all season long. They sit on the front row. They came to every game. They were one of his teachers in the 10th grade, and they didn't take it for granted that he had a family member that was going to be there, so they decided they were going to be there for him. And they had gifts for him on his last. If we weren't there, somebody was there just going to be supporting him. And we were so appreciative that didn't know it. He knew it the whole time. We always see him hug these ladies at the end of the game, but we didn't know who these ladies were. They were teachers, past teachers. They weren't even his current teachers at the time. And so there's a lot of teachers like that. I was at the previews last night. There's a principal sitting there. Her kids had other things going on, but she was sitting in the stands with these kids, cheering on her students. And so I think we underestimate how much they love and care for our kids and stand in the gap for those parents that cannot be there.
Yeah, that's incredible. You know, talking about that, one gets you a little emotional because thinking about these people who are being there for kids they're not blood related to, but they've made them family.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
And we always talk about sometimes it's not about blood, but it's about who you make make your family be. But I'm thinking about our youth pastor who I texted him last night because he wasn't where he's supposed to be at 6. Right, he's supposed to be at the church at 6 because we have Thursday nights.
Yeah.
And he texted me, and I texted him or whatever, and he's at a volleyball game for some of the students who come to our students night on Wednesday.
Yeah.
Right, I'm like, hey, you just keep doing what you're doing. I take care of this because some of those students' parents may not be able to be there. So he stood in the gap, and just like teachers stand in the gap supporting you, because there's nothing like a feeling of having somebody there to support you.
So, and I know you might ask me this later. I'm gonna jump the gun because it seems to fit. I'm gonna pull it up on my phone so that I get it right, if you'll allow me to.
Yep, go right ahead.
So, a teacher says to her football coach, she says, "Hey, I want to know you had a good season, and I want to know what your stats are for your football season," is what she says in an email to her football coach. And I'm finding them here, yes. And this is a football coach who is connected to his kids relationally. Yes, he X's and O's and all that kind of stuff. But when you go through the building, you can tell that he's connected with them on and off the field.
Yeah.
And so they get through the season, which was better than they had before. I don't know. This is my first year, so I don't know what their stats was like. But she said, I sent him an email requesting the end of the year football stats. And this is what he sent back. He says, here are the stats for my team this year. One player found his father dead. One player lost an aunt, which was his closest living relative. 2 players got hit in the face by their mom in front of the other players. One player's mom cussed him out in front of the whole team. One mother's player tried to have him committed. One player hit another player in the head with his helmet. 4 of my players were kicked off the team for disciplinary reasons. One player is working night shift to help his family make ends meet. I had 6 players with incidents of marijuana. I had 3 school fights involving players. 1 player was arrested for punching a police officer. 40% of my seniors had no one show up and walk them on the field for senior night. I have 2 players living in motels. I have 1 player and manager currently involved in a custody issue because father is abusive. I had 1 player attempt suicide, and 1 player is couch surfing. Those are my stats. Which ones are you asking for? He cares. He cares. And so when people ask me, what's the number one thing I can do to make my school safe? When a principal asks me that, when teachers ask me that, I say there's 3 things you can do. There's 3 things you can do right now to make your school much safer. Build trust is number 1. Number 2, build trust. And number 3, build trust.
Yeah.
Our safety lies within how quality our relationships are with the students.
Yeah.
They have to be like the football coach to know something about them outside of the 4 walls of the school.
Yeah.
They have to care for them.
Yeah.
They have to be trusted.
Yeah.
The children, the students, have to know that when I come to an adult in this school, that if I have a problem, not only do they care about it, they want to fix it, and they will not. And they're not trying to make things worse for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because sometimes they come in thinking you only want the worst for me.
Right.
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 Because, so I wrote this ebook. I call it "Hello: A Letter to Teachers," and one of the things that in that book that I'm trying to identify is that the consistency of the hello even when I messed up, were the teachers that I found myself most connected to.
Mm-hmm.
Even though I may have been disrupting the class, the next day they still came to me and they said hello to me.
Yeah.
Where there was some, when I disrupted class, they ignored me. They treated, like when somebody's done with you, right?
Yeah.
But it's the teachers who keeps coming and saying hello to you, even though like you keep acting up, but I still care for you.
Yeah. The message has to be, right?
Yeah.
We learn this in mentoring over time. Is the message has to be is I care about you and there ain't nothing you can do about it.
That's right.
Nothing you can do about it.
Right.
Now, I want you, that behavior I don't.
Yeah.
But I know you and your behavior are
Yeah.
two separate things.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I know in your heart that you're better than that behavior.
Yeah.
So I'm looking to see if you brought your whole self to work, if you brought that junk to school too. You know? Right.
Yeah, no. And I think in your role, like that's what makes you great, like as an officer or running a mentoring program. Was like, even though these kids may sometimes be knuckleheads
and get on your nerves,
I'm gonna still show up at their game. I'm gonna still show up at their houses. I'm gonna still take you to lunch.
Yeah,
I'm gonna keep doing it because I know what's in you.
I love you, and there ain't nothing you can do about it.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah. No, that's good.
Yeah.
That's so good. Can you tell us something that you can share that we just never would think about concerning safety in a school? Like, is there something in your job like I don't think the world even would know this, but you can share it with us.
There's a lot of really smart use of technology right now that I think we won't talk about details, right? But it's really smart use of technology and collaboration when it comes to school security. And you probably know that it's happening, but it's happening beneath your conscious and stuff. And so it's really cool use. And I've been lucky enough to be able to travel to some conferences to see how people are using this technology. Here's the thing I will say, though. Just because you have the technology doesn't mean you've made your security footprint better.
Oh, gotcha.
Right? So I think you can waste a lot of money.
Yeah.
On stuff you don't use or you don't get any value out of.
Yeah.
And so there's a lot of things, a lot of systems and things. And so part of my job is to evaluate how that actually makes life better for students.
Yeah.
Right. It has to. And so one of the things that we can talk about is metal detectors. Right. I can make, if we want to keep all potential weapons out of the school, we got technology to do that.
Yeah.
But does it make, for me, the question is, how do I do that without creating a prison?
A feel of a prison.
Of the feel of a prison.
Yeah.
The feel of a prison, because this is still school.
Yeah.
This is still a place where I want them to flourish and be free and not worry. And I can't imagine if we do all of the security things to tighten this place down so that nothing can happen to our kids, they ain't learning. It's going to restrict the freedom of thought in their mind. And I remember I never worried about my safety, right? But the second you see a police officer pull up, you start thinking about safety.
Yeah.
Right. Now I'm not naive. We got to have some measures in place. We got to have some visible. We got to have some visible measures in place. But so how do we use metal detection without creating this kind of space that feels so restrictive that it starts to feel like a prison, especially when we don't know what our kids experienced last night or this morning on their way to school. Right. And so trying to find that right balance and not use all of the technology that's available just because it's good and it works. It has to be good for the student or it ain't no good for us.
Yeah. So whenever they're thinking about creating these different types of technologies, one of the things to keep in mind is like, okay, how can we use this technology but not make it feel invasive?
Exactly.
Make it not feel, create this sense of, oh no, I'm not going to school, I'm going to prison.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, that's what it feels like.
Right.
You know,
Right.
I've heard students say like, no, this feels like a prison to me because I can't do X, Y, Z or.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the funny thing, you said that about the police officer. You see the police officer, and now all of a sudden you're thinking about your safety or whatever. At our church, we have police officers. And that's one of the things that we get oftentimes like, why you got a police officer at church?
Yeah.
And the reason they're saying that is like now I don't feel like I'm in a safe environment. But really, the officer's here to assure the safety even more so. But
Right.
just seeing them just makes people think that.
Exactly. Whether they're aware of it or not.
Yeah.
Whether they're aware of it or not.
Yeah.
It's a feeling that pops up. Right.
But being an officer for 26 years, you probably have had that more often than not where a kid sees you and where you want that kid to feel like, I'm fine. I'm okay. It's okay.
Yeah.
I'm here.
Yeah.
Safe. They don't.
Not instantly.
Yeah.
Right. That's the building trust, build rapport, the communication skills. You have to do that reassurance, and we have to work hard at that.
Yeah.
Not one time, all the time.
Yeah.
All the time, constantly.
It's an ongoing relationship.
Ongoing relationship
To build that trust.
Yep.
Yeah. That's good. What are some best practices when it comes to serving our students that you've learned in doing this?
You know, I'm gonna say that I feel like I'm just going back to the same old thing as building trust, right, in relationships. The value of that, and I'll give you an example of the value of building trust, and then the second thing, if you remind me to come back to the second thing when I talk about building trust, is perspective, right, in open mind. But we got to build trust with students, and give you an example. All of the physical security that we can come up with, doors and locks break, malfunction. People defeat physical securities. Cameras break. You know, all this stuff. And when they break and we have a breach of security, the only thing left is someone opening their mouth and going to a trusted individual and say, there's been a breach of security in this way and it makes me nervous. Can you fix it? It is a relationship at the end of the day that's our safety net. We had a young man last year got involved in a back and forth discussion for a couple of days during the week. And for whatever reason, the discussion turned to the point where he felt threatened. The next day, some kind of way, he comes to school with a gun. Went through all of our security measures and made it through with the gun.
Yeah.
Shouldn't have. We can go back and we can point to where the breakdown happened, but needless to say, the breakdown happened.
Yeah.
And he's in class on Snapchat posting himself with this gun. Now, why would you do that? Everybody's going, now why would he be so stupid to do that?
Yeah.
What he was doing was telling the other people, I'm prepared if you're going to do what you were talking about doing to me. Yeah. I'm prepared, so let's don't even try it. Yeah. So he was trying to bluff his way through the day. And if they called his bluff, he was prepared.
Yeah.
Right? So that's why. But someone in his timeline saw it and said, I don't feel safe. And went to a trusted adult in the building. Not the one in the class I was in, not that teacher.
Yeah.
Not the one I passed in the hall, a specific teacher.
Yeah.
And said, I don't feel safe. Look what I see. And protocols went in place and it saves the day.
Yeah.
Right? Nothing happens. A couple of things about that is I'm highlighting how the trusted relationship saved the day. What I'm not telling you is how the failed trusted relationship did not save the day, because if that young man didn't feel safe and he had a trusted adult, he could have gone and said, I don't feel safe. There was nobody in the building that he can come and say, I think tomorrow when I come to school, I may have talked too much, or things are boiling to a point where I don't feel safe. He took it upon himself.
Yeah.
Right? Where a trusted adult could have even kept that from even occurring if he felt like he had a trusted adult to go to.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
What was the second thing? See, I told
you.
Perspective. We as adults, we come in with our own life experiences. And all too often, and I'll give you an example of a police officer, when we're about to do searches and we are very routine and know when people are trying to avoid us. They try to avoid talking to us. They try to avoid dealing with us because usually, not all the time, but oftentimes or not, because they're trying to hide something or escape or do all that kind of stuff. And so we bring that into the school. And an SRO from St. Louis was telling me that, perspective, he's had to learn to really expand his perspective and try to consider the other person's viewpoint. This is what happened. He said, I get to school, we do our normal check-in and check the bags. He says, but we had a lot of incidents of people sneaking in vapes and marijuana, and they figured they were getting them in through their shoes because, we were checking their bags and stuff. And he said, so they decided the next day that as people come through, they were going to have them just shake their shoe as they came in. And he said, everything was going fine. He said, this one kid comes in, he sees what's going on, he walks out. The officer sees him walk out and goes to say, hey, why are you trying to walk out? Why don't you come to school? He says, no, I'm not coming in. I'm going home today. He said, no, you came to school. You need to come on in and take your shoes off. He says, I'm not taking my shoes off. And this melee breaks out. They tear out the tables. There are injuries to both the kid and the officer. It's a mess. He says, once we look at the video and we talk to the kid, the reason the kid did not want his shoes taken off is because his socks were so dirty and torn up and his feet stink. Wow. And he wasn't going to do that in front of a whole line of kids. So he was just going to take the day off. Yeah. To the officer, he's trying to avoid being detected. Yeah. Right? And so this because we didn't have perspective or didn't take the time to try to gain what the other one was trying to see or feel, it turns into a fight. And you can break that down to all kinds of situations where we as adults have our own viewpoint of what's happening, and we don't ever have the opportunity to put ourselves in the kids' shoes because we don't deal with what they deal with before they come to school. And we're just taking the time to try to figure that out, right?
That's incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah. And there's so many life lessons in that. not just regarding officer and student, but people to people.
Just people to people.
Right. There's
people
just
to people.
So much in that, and just really, I think just being slow and maybe asking better questions.
Yes.
Is there more to you not wanting to take off your shoes? Mm-hmm. Can we step to the side? Can we get in a safe place to be able to have a conversation? Mm-hmm. And I think that's the case with so many things. I'm just thinking again about my role as a community leader, a pastor, being able to just, hey, can we step to the side? Mm-hmm. Let's talk a little bit more about this. Because I get people who come to me all the time. There's a story of there's this gentleman, he's walking around the building, and these two ladies come to me, and they're like, hey, I think he's because he was trying to open the door or whatever, and they thought he was trying to steal something. And I was like, oh, really? I said, now, why do y'all think that? Because he was trying to, I said, did y'all ask him? They're like, no, we didn't ask him. I said, y'all know he's autistic?
Yeah.
There's more to the story here.
A little bit more information might change everything.
Change everything for you, right? And did you just know a little bit more? And so I think that in that, going back to the teacher-student relationship, officer-student, is so key to being able to just ask, but building trust.
Yeah,
getting to know them beyond the classroom, beyond the walls, all of that. But man, in some of that I can relate to. Thinking about it, when I was young, I would go somewhere and my feet smelled.
Yeah,
so I don't want to take my shoes off.
No,
or I had holes in my socks.
Right. And
you surely don't want to do it in front of your friends because they're going,
no. And this turns into a fight.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes. Yeah. Or a kid killing him, taking his life.
Yeah.
Because now he doesn't want to go back to school. He's embarrassed.
The authority figures are making me do it.
Yeah.
Right.
So I don't feel safe when I talk to an officer.
Right.
You got a big job.
Well, yeah. You have a big job. Yeah. We all have big jobs.
But I think it's conversations like this Like, just imagine if that one person hears this conversation.
Yeah.
Because they never had thought this way.
Yeah.
Trust and perspective.
What am I missing? What the automatic assumptions, right?
Yeah.
A lot of times are right. They're right on, but when they're wrong, they're devastating.
Yeah.
Yeah. And sometimes you don't even know that you've caused the damage.
Yeah.
A kid in this case wears it forever. Right? Yeah. And so I don't want to make that mistake.
Yeah.
I don't want to make the mistake. Not saying I won't, not saying you won't, but I won't. What am I missing? Tell me more about what's going on here.
Yeah.
I noticed you walked outside. Is it something about the line you didn't want to participate today? How can I help you navigate this?
Yeah.
Right? Is there anything you need to tell me? You were coming to school today, right?
Yeah.
Tell me something. If you don't want to talk to me, is there a teacher here that you like to talk to?
Yeah.
Wait here, let me find them.
Yeah.
I know you play on the football team. Can I get Coach Heady to come and talk to you before you leave? What's your telephone number? I'll have him call you. If you got to leave right now, I'll have him call you.
Yeah. Yeah, see, that alone is a real, ladies and gentlemen. See, in podcast world, that right there, just the power of those questions alone, like somebody hearing those questions, even for myself, like I probably wouldn't have thought of like, what's up with his feed, or if there's something, even though that's happened to me in my own life.
Right.
Sometimes it's like,
test 1, 2, 3.
It's
you really do have God in here. You really do.
Well, again, we're in a school.
God.
We're in a school, ladies and gentlemen. So they're running tests around
I heard
here.
his voice clearly say to me.
No, that's good. Last question. Just comes. Sometimes we can assume, like, again, your role as a director of safety. What's the big picture? So, of course, we can all think like we don't want drugs in the school. We don't want. What's the big picture? What's the big goal for somebody like you in that role, and how you support education?
So I immediately prayed before taking this role and came up with what the core values are going to be for the department. And the core values, and I won't go into all that detail, but basically says we're going to do whatever we can to create.
Test 1, 2, 3, testing.
Yep. This department is going to be whatever we can do to support world-class education. Whatever we got to do to help teachers and adults flourish so kids can flourish. And so the bottom line, the big goal is schools ought to be the safest place on earth. Period.
That's good.
They ought to be the safest place on earth, and the goal is to create the safest place on earth in schools. And I know you would probably say church. Yeah, but you got police officers at church too. So, schools ought to be the safest place on earth. And when and I know that we are doing that job, or we're achieving that when a little school in New York or Chicago or Florida or in Timbuktu says we want to be the safest place on earth, and I'm gonna go to Oklahoma City to figure out how to do it. Yeah. I know we've made it.
That's good. I like that.
Yeah,
I like that. That's really good. Wayland, man, I appreciate you just taking a moment just to share some of these stories. You got a brother crying on the podcast.
Nah.
You got me tearing up, man. And that's the reason I knew I'd invite you. Again, I want to be able to encourage a million teachers weekly, and that's having stories like this and conversations like this. And sometimes the biggest encouragement is just hearing people support, like, oh, people are for me. And we want teachers to know that we're for them. And I appreciate the work that you do. How can people find you?
I am on Facebook, Wayland Cubit, barely on Facebook, but I'm there.
Yeah.
Wayland Cubit. I am on Instagram, Mentoring1235. I'm on Twitter, just as Wayland Cubit. And of course, I'm at Oklahoma City Public Schools, so you can always find me there. And if you don't watch out, I might be a teacher one day because they're my heroes now. Right? Yeah. It used to be Marshall Dillon, but now it's a teacher.
That's good.
Yeah.
Any last words to encourage teachers?
No, man. Keep doing what y'all doing, and let me know how I can support you. Do what you do. Yeah,
That's good.
That's it.
Ladies and gentlemen, hey, thanks again for hitting that play button for another episode of the Heady Coleman Podcast. And as always, ladies and gentlemen, go win. Thank you,
job.
man.